to Coffee with Kim. We are here today with Tom Farris. And as you're watching this video on YouTube, we would ask that you would share and like. So welcome, Tom. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm currently, I live in Norman, Oklahoma. I've been here for a while and I really love it. But I grew up all over. I was born in Oklahoma, but lived in North Carolina for a while, North Dakota for a number of years. But I've been back here and I really consider myself an Okie because I think I've been back about 25-ish years by now. So I
You're
think
officially an
I've
Okie.
established residency. Yeah.
That's
Nobody
cool.
else. But I grew up the child of two really passionate Native American art collectors, and so I've really grown up with it and been immersed in it my entire life. And when I was younger, I really didn't like it. Nobody likes what their parents like. But as I got a little older, I started to, the things that I was interested in, pop culture, comic books, those things started leaking into native art. And then I started paying a little more attention to it and embracing it. And now it kind of has turned into a full-on profession. I've worked in native art in some capacity for 20 years now. I've been the director of a small museum. I've run art shows. I've had my own gallery. I currently run Exhibit C gallery for the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
And we feature all First American artists and of federally recognized tribes. So it's just something that I've fallen into and really just love.
That's cool. So what mediums do you do, Tom?
Well, I don't really have a particular medium. I paint a lot just because I really am visually, that's kind of my milieu is what I work in well. But I do so many other random things more based on just the idea that I have. I try not to have the idea limited by a medium. So I try to, if it's something new, then it's something I try to learn how to do. For example, I'm currently working on a full-on piece that's a car. And part of that was that I wanted to learn more about how to put cars together and rebuilding cars. And so I've taken a car that was wrecked and totally rebuilt it. And now I'm putting the artwork into it. And so that's partially why I like doing what I do, because I get to learn all new things. If I was just a painter, I wouldn't be able to incorporate the woodworking that I learned from my father. So I make war clubs now and other things, random things out of wood. But those are all things that I learned from him and continue to develop those skills. I really like the idea that in making art, I'm learning new things and learning how to do other things. Once COVID hit, I took home economics in 7th grade and basically learned how to sew. But once COVID hit, I started making masks and kind of relearned those skills. And now I'm a pretty proficient, I wouldn't say seamstress, but tailor perhaps. So I like the incidental learning that comes with creating art. The piece that I won the Innovation Award for in 2019 was a slot machine that I had an idea for the concept, and it really made sense to be done in a slot machine. And half of the battle was, first of all, just finding one I could purchase. They're really hard to come by. And then learning how the mechanics of it worked and taking it all apart and changing everything that I wanted to change, putting it all back together. It is one of those things that I just get to learn as I create. And so that's just a benefit for me. I'm always interested in learning new things.
Yeah. So you definitely are juried in as a diverse artist then.
Yes, because I never know what I'm going to do. And that's the easiest thing for me to do, just because my work, it is partially some woodwork. There's partially some mechanics. I never really know what it's going to be. So I like having the options that allows me, just because I just end up making weird things. And so trying to find a home for them is challenging. So I'm very appreciative that diverse arts exists, because it suits me well in that, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Whatever you're making today, it'll go in diverse arts.
Right.
So it
Got
it's
to
a
be interesting. Then you've got to like, as far as your collector base, it's got to be something sometimes very unique.
it is, and it's I have collectors for many different reasons. I have in larger collections in museums, I have pieces that are paintings, and I also have the war clubs I've made. I have collectors who like my things. The war clubs, a little more insight into those. They are ball-headed war clubs that are hand carved, and they incorporate a vintage Pontiac hood ornament. And mostly, I do that because most people have divorced the fact that Pontiac was a real person and was a Native American leader, and they just recognize it as a car brand. And I like to remind people, it's like, well, there's a history to that, and there's a person that references, and so I've taken an appropriated Native image that Pontiac, the car company, created these really beautiful Art Deco style hood ornaments from the 30s to the 60s. And so I've taken those appropriated images and incorporated them into something that are actually Native. And so I've reappropriated them into having a relevance to Native people once again. And
Right.
so my work kind of has a little bit of education, a little bit of whimsy, and it's always odd.
How long have you been doing work clubs?
I've been doing those for probably about 7 years.
Oh, wow.
They're still fairly new as far as my work is concerned,
Mhm.
um, but they are definitely they've definitely been popular. They're just an oddity, I guess, for a lot of people. This one is called Death from Above because it's got that shark face on it. But as you can see, it incorporates that vintage Pontiac hood ornament, which really is almost a weapon by itself,
Wow.
um, into that ball-headed war club, and really just bringing that appropriated image back home to Native culture.
Very unique. Yeah.
Yeah, that's generally the statement I get. It's, oh, this is neat, or this is unique or interesting, and that's fine. I like people entering and seeing my stuff and really not knowing what to make of it.
Right.
And so, getting back to the original point, I have collectors for all kinds of different reasons. One of them is I have a lot of vintage car collectors who love my work because I tend to incorporate things like the hood ornaments or iconography from that era, some motorcycle things I've done work with too. I like the idea of reappropriating Native images that were either logos or just random items that were made. I just like that idea of kind of taking things back and really taking ownership of our own imagery again.
So I'm really curious to find out, like, what is your methodology of finding these pieces since they're so rare?
Uh, for finding like there's
Yes.
a lot of internet shopping. I am a car guy, which is why those pieces resonate for me. I'd always seen those hood ornaments and thought, man, those would fit perfectly on the back of a war club. And then I eventually made one. So I end up at a lot of places where those things are found, maybe not every day. They're definitely a rarity in any situation, but I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy trying to find things. I'm a very avid collector myself, and it does art. It's comic books, everything. But music is another one. So I love going through record shops and digging in records, trying to find stuff that hidden gem. So I'm
Right.
definitely the same way of the things that I utilize to make my work. Whether that be a hood ornament or trying to find a slot machine that's functional, and all these things, and then learning about those and trying to make it work for the crazy idea that I have.
Yeah, love that. That's awesome.
Thank
Because
you.
I definitely know that there are people like you, and then I reminds me of my dad. My dad was always like, "Let's go to a flea market. Let's go."
I will frequent a flea market for sure. That's a good afternoon in my book, is going to check out a swap meet or a flea market or antique shop. I love that kind of stuff because
Awesome.
I never know what I will be struck by. Plus, those are great places to find those. Um, uh, Native imagery has been appropriated for so long and put on so many things that you just come across the most random things. Like, why did that even make sense to put an Indian on that? It's so, uh, I like finding old vintage advertising or um, just products, placements, and things like that. And those are the places you find them. You can find it online, and it's a little easier, but I kind of like the visceral search and actually going through and finding things myself.
That's awesome. How long have you been a Swire jewelry artist?
Oh my gosh. Oh, now you made me do math. This will be my 10th year,
Oh, wow.
I'm
Tom, that's a long time.
pretty sure. And by all means, check my math on that. I am the worst at keeping track of things. I always feel like the new kids still, mostly because uh, I've worked on the business side of native art for so long, and I'm so close with so many artists that way
Mhm.
that I kind of forget when I started, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that it's been way longer than I thought it has. I always think it's in the realm of 5 years, but somebody pointed out to me the other day it's been a lot longer than that. So,
That's
but
awesome.
not a
Human
terrible.
community then, for sure.
Absolutely, I really love coming to market specifically, just because it is a big reunion every year, and you can go and see everyone. You can go out and drink with everyone. Everybody's kind of centrally located in one area, and if you well, if you had gone to Palace, some random night, you're going to run into everybody. That's what I love about market is even though it's a ton of work and early mornings, and you know, I get to sit and talk to people about art all day. I get to see all these artists that I love and work with, and um, I get to see what they're doing, and it's the place that kind of provides that annual reunion, and it's just something I've always really enjoyed.
I wanted to ask you too, I'm assuming you have a online presence as
Uh,
well?
yes, I do. It's very recent. I do have a website, and I try to stay. So my website, Facebook page, and Instagram are all the same. It's all the art of Tom Ferris. So it's pretty easy to hunt me down.
Oh, that's good.
theartoftomferris.com, facebook.com/the art of Tom Ferris, and at the art of Tom Ferris. So
That's
it's
awesome.
I try to make it easy for everybody.
So have you had some good sales online?
Well, actually, I would say virtual market last year really drove so much business to my site, and I did well. So I was very pleased with that, and it wasn't the full on reunion experience, but it was definitely worthwhile financially.
Mhm.
Um, and I like having the opportunity to have people have access to see my work at any time.
Yeah.
Um, it used to be the fact that if somebody found out I was an artist, they say, "Oh, well, where can I see your work?" I was like, "Well, now you can just go to my website." So that
Yeah.
is something that I would definitely encourage. I resisted it for a very long time, and I'm not the best at keeping up with it. I really am not. But once it's there, it's kind of easy, and you can update it every so often, but it is an excellent tool, and I highly suggest people doing it. And it's really not a huge investment. I think I spent about $30 annually.
Wow.
It's not a lot, and I don't have but I also don't have a super fancy site either. It's very basic,
Yeah.
but
Well, as long as they can push by, I think
right, exactly. And
that's,
well, and really for me, it's just it's an opportunity to just have a place for people to go and see what I do.
yeah.
Just because, especially with my work, it's hard to explain because there's so much going on, and so many references and levels to it that it works best visually.
Right. That's awesome. I'm glad that you shared that with us because definitely there are some artists who are in that place of contemplation of whether or
Mm.
not they should even consider being online. And I think that the majority of the
I
people who are doing it are happy.
I would suggest it. Like I said, it's a fairly minimal investment. There was definitely a learning curve, but I'm also really not the most technically advanced person ever. I'm really not at all. But I used a real basic program that kind of had some templates
Yeah.
and kind of fill in the blank. And I've got a nice looking site. It's pretty inexpensive, and I don't spend a lot of money on it, and it's good return, and it's just informationally it's good. It really kind of improves your not only just having a web presence, but if people Google you, they actually will have something to refer to. Working on the business side as a curator and I run a gallery, and just talking to lots of other curators, that's a big thing for them if an artist has a website, because it makes their life easier, and it's kind of a deterrent if you don't. So I would highly recommend it, and I I'm probably the worst spokesman for it just because I resisted it for so long, but
Yeah.
I can say that as a recent website adopter, I will. I would highly recommend the investment. It's worth it, and I just think it raises your profile so much.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really true. And definitely, I think that it's, and I'm sure that you experience this as well, is that it increases your collector base. So it allows your collectors to find you, but it also allows you to attract new collectors by being online. And I think that what we found is that a lot of people were getting collectors that they'd never ever experienced before. So that was a real positive.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that that's an experience that I have every year at market.
Mhm.
I mean, it's inevitable. You're going to get it in front of some new eyes. I'm always happy to see previous collectors and kind of find out. I've got some really nice correspondence with a lot of my collectors. I get letters and pictures and emails, and so I really like building those relationships and kind of keeping up with people. And having a website does allow you to do that on a larger scale, and it really just lets people find you easier. It kind of takes that burden off of you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, I am just glad to have met you, Tom, and I hope to meet you in person.
I am ready to get back to doing markets and seeing everyone. And
Yeah,
there's just such a community aspect to it that you don't obviously can't get really online.
right.
Um, and we're really excited for that.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Tom, and I wish you the best and be in your place of creation, and hopefully we'll see you in August.
I look forward to it. Well, I mean, even if it's just a digital, I'd still definitely be involved. I
Yes, absolutely.
had a great time, and I can't wait to be back for in-person market.
That's true. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.